Compliments of the season. Thank you for staying with us. This is the world news right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Mwachuku. First off, the top stories. Trump recalls U.S. ambassador to Nigeria. Also, federal government to introduce mandatory vehicle recycling fee from 2026. In a very recent development as well, confusion erupts as calls are being called. President Tinubu commissions electric motorcycles in Borno State. In a very recent development, President Tinubu declares public holiday. NSA hands over remaining 130 St. Mary's Catholic School pupils, teachers to Governor Bago. Confusion as well in a recent statement by Igboho warning Tinubu of looming chaos in Southwest as suspected headsmen murder farmers. Exclusive reports indicates Nigerian lawmakers abandoned budget protest after cash bribes from Tinubu, senators receiving $50,000, House of Rep members receiving $30,000. Details now. Their postings as chief submission will conclude. Well, Africa has been the region most affected by the recalls, with ambassadors from 13 countries, which includes Nigeria, Burundi, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and Uganda, among those removed. Other regions affected include the Asia Pacific, Europe, the Middle East, South Asia, and the Western Hemisphere. The State Department, in a statement, described the changes as a standard process in any administration, noting that ambassadors serve at the pleasure of the president and are meant to advance the administration's policy priorities. Officials stressed that the recalled diplomats are not losing their jobs in the foreign service and can continue serving in other capacities within the State Department. However, the sudden change is expected to require adjustments in embassy operations and diplomatic initiatives in the affected countries. The recall of the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria comes amid heightened attention on U.S.-Africa relations and has drawn concern from some lawmakers and the American Foreign Service Association, which represents U.S. diplomats. For Nigeria, the departure of the U.S. envoy marks a notable shift in diplomatic engagement at a time when the country is a key partner in regional security, economic collaboration, and development initiatives. Now, the federal government has announced plans to tap into Nigeria's largely informal vehicle recycling market, projecting annual revenues of over 150 billion naira from 2026 as part of sweeping reforms to modernize the country's automotive industry. The National Automotive Design and Development Council disclosed this in a statement issued on Sunday, with the Director General Joseph Osanipin saying the initiative would be driven by a comprehensive end-of-life vehicle program already approved for implementation. Osanipin explained that the policy would formalize the recycling of vehicles that have reached the end of their useful lives, turning what is currently an environmental and safety burden into a major economic opportunity. According to him, Nigeria's program will follow a similar model, requiring a modest fee at the point of vehicle registration to fund environmentally sound disposal and recycling, a move he acknowledged may initially face public resistance. Osanipin noted that Nigeria already has a thriving informal second-hand auto parts market, commonly referred to as the Belgian parts market, driven largely by durability and quality concerns around new parts. He said studies by the council showed that 85% of components from end-of-life vehicles remain reusable or recyclable, creating a strong foundation for a formal circular economy. He added that beyond revenue generation, the recycling ecosystem would create thousands of jobs across dismantling, refurbishing, logistics, and component resale segments. The announcement comes against the backdrop of a rebound in Nigeria's vehicle import market this year. Well, you do know that the value of passenger motor car imports rose to about 1.1 trillion naira in the first 9 months of 2025, up from roughly 894 billion naira in the same period last year, which signaled a resurgence in demand as foreign exchange market stability improves and importer confidence returns. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics indicates that the recovery only gained traction in the second half of the year, with the third quarter posting a sharp uptick in import value that more than offsets slower activity earlier in the year. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's federal government has declared December 25 and 26, 2025, as well as January 1, 2026 public holidays to mark Christmas, Boxing Day, and New Year celebrations. Well, this was disclosed in a statement by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Interior, Dr. Magdalene Ajani. He indicated that the declaration was made on behalf of the federal government by the Minister Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, that is the Minister of Interior. Tunji-Ojo extended warm Christmas and New Year felicitations to Christians in Nigeria and across the world, as well as all Nigerians, as they celebrate the end of the year and the beginning of a new one. The minister also employed Christians to reflect the virtues of love, peace, humility, and sacrifice as exemplified by the birth of Jesus Christ, noting that these values are critical to promoting unity, tolerance, and harmony in the nation. Now, residents of Borno State have been thrown into confusion following the commissioning of 3,000 electric motorcycles by President Bola Tinubu, despite an existing ban on the use of motorcycles across the state. President Tinubu, who was on a state visit on Saturday, unveiled a fleet of electric vehicles made up of 3,000 electric bikes, 500 tricycles, 100 cars, and 20 to 42-seater buses. Speaking during the commissioning, the president praised Governor Babagana Zulum and the people of Borno State, describing the initiative as a major boost to mobility, convenience, and transportation efficiency, particularly for rural dwellers. However, the unveiling has raised questions amongst residents as the use of motorcycles, including electric and petrol-powered bikes, remains banned in the state on security grounds. On July 25, 2024, the Borno State Police Command reaffirmed the ban, warning that anyone found riding or possessing a motorcycle would be arrested. In a statement signed by the Police Public Relations Officer ASP Nahum Daso, the command said the decision was reached by the Borno State Security Council due to prevailing security challenges. Daso added that filling stations were equally barred from selling fuel to motorcyclists, warning that any station found violating the directive would be sealed and prosecuted. The senior technical assistant to the governor on print and digital communications, Abdurrahman Bundi, also confirmed that the ban remains in force. The National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, has officially handed over the remaining 130 kidnapped students and teachers of St. Mary's Catholic School to Niger State Governor Mohammed Umar Bago. You do know that on the 8th of December 2025, the Office of the National Security Advisor officially handed over a total of 100 kidnapped students to the Niger State government. At a brief ceremony at the Government House, Mina, Ribadu, represented by Major General Adamu Garbalaka, National Coordinator Center for Counterterrorism Abuja, explained that the rescue mission succeeded through the combined efforts of security agencies, including the Nigerian Army, the police, and the Department of Security Services. Well, according to what he said, he reiterated the commitment of the federal government to protecting the lives and property of citizens. Bago hailed the rescue of all kidnapped students and their teachers. He disclosed, however, and I quote, "It is unprecedented to get everyone back like this in this country." Yoruba Nation activist Sunday Adeyemo, also known as Sunday Igboho, has called on President Tinubu to take urgent steps to address the escalating insecurity in rural communities across Oyo State and other parts of the southwest. Igboho shared his concerns via a statement today while reacting to the alleged murder of 3 farmers by suspected Fulani herdsmen. The victims, identified as Adiroju Mukaila, Olawuwo Saka, and Ojeniyi Ojebayo, were reportedly hacked by herders after resisting the destruction of their farms by grazing cattle. Although the farmers were rushed to hospital following the attack, they later succumbed to their injuries despite the efforts of medical personnel. Reacting to this development, Igboho warned that failure to act could trigger avoidable conflicts and widespread chaos. He also added that the government and relevant security agencies need to do more adequately to protect lives and property in the Okeagun axis, where insecurity has become a daily reality for residents of Igboho and neighboring communities. He expressed further concerns over the broader menace of criminality in the region, stating that he had repeatedly raised the alarm over the inimical activities of rogue Fulani herders, bandits, and hoodlums who have infiltrated rural settlements and forests across the southwest, as well as parts of Kwara and Kogi states. He lamented the despair of victims and their families, noting that their patience has been exhausted. And still on the world news at 6, Nigerian senators on Friday received $50,000 while their counterparts at the House of Representatives collected $30,000 in bribes allegedly for stalling a planned protest to halt the passing of the 2026 budget and disgrace President Bola Tinubu due to long-standing grievances over funding for constituency projects, citing discriminatory treatment between the National Assembly leadership and members. Now, according to People's Gazette, the funds were distributed through the leaders of caucuses from each of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The Gazette had reported that Nigerian lawmakers had threatened to disrupt proceedings and stall the budget presentation, mainly due to what they tagged as Mr. Tinubu's failure to adequately implement the 2025 budget. However, the protest was abruptly abandoned shortly before Mr. Tinubu arrived at the parliament. The Gazette learned that the lawmakers made the decision during a chaotic meeting between legislators, Finance Minister Wale Edu and Budget Minister Abubakar Bagudu at the National Assembly, where members led by Ahmed Wase clashed with the leadership of the two chambers over unfair payment plans. Federal Inland Revenue Service Chairman Zak Adedeji was also present at the meeting. Lawmakers present at the meeting last week disclosed that the situation began when the Tinubu government agreed to release 850 billion naira for constituency project payments to legislators under mounting pressure. However, the sources who disclosed the publication on Friday stated that the leadership of the bicameral legislature received calls from the presidency few hours before the commencement of proceedings for the budget presentation by Mr. Tinubu, urging them to plead with the agreed lawmakers with a promise of financial inducement. Mr. Tinubu, who arrived at the National Assembly complex at about 3 p.m. on Friday, presented a proposed 54.46 trillion naira budget for the 2026 fiscal year before a joint session of the Senate and House of Representatives. The president was in the company of Vice President Kashim Shettima, Chief of Staff to the President Femi Gbajabiamila, Secretary to the Government of the Federation Senator George Akume, ministers and some governors amongst others. 5 members of the House of Representatives confirmed that each of their colleagues received $30,000 minutes after Mr. Tinubu concluded the presentation of the 2026 budget. 4 senators who spoke with the People's Gazette also confirmed the development, noting that they and their colleagues received $50,000 each for cancelling the planned protest. 2 senators, however, said they received less than $50,000, while 2 House of Rep members denied receiving the money. However, an aide to the House of Representative member who denied it confirmed that his boss received $30,000. A spokesperson for the Senate, however, denied knowledge of the bribery when contacted. According to the lawmakers, no one received money until the president was done presenting the budget, but they started receiving the money in cash immediately after Mr. Tinubu had finished presenting the budget. Even though the money was collected to buy the lawmakers' silence over alleged mismanagement of federal appropriations, the lawmakers dismissed ethical or legal consequences, saying that these could be considered as Christmas gifts. You're currently listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 92.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, analysis segment where I'll be joined via the telephone with Mr. Elvis Elimihele, who is a political, national and social affairs commentator. Mr. Elvis will be giving us some insights into some of the stories read out on the World News at 6. To kindly stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. Mr. Elvis Elimihele is with us via the telephone. Mr. Elvis, how are you today?
Good evening, yes, sir.
Welcome, sir. Compliments of the season.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Elvis, let's start off with this recent development, or I would rather call it an expose by the People's Gazette. Can you hear me clearly, Mr. Elvis?
I can hear you very clearly and loudly.
All right, thank you very much. So, this information came up yesterday or on Saturday, where People's Gazette exposed that the president gave the lawmakers $50,000 and $30,000 respectively. Now, if you convert $50,000 to naira, it's about 73 million naira. Okay, and if you convert $30,000 to naira, it's about 43 million naira. And if you compare how many senators, we have about 300 and something senators, and with the House of Rep members, I mean, that calculation you can understand. And these monies were given to them in cash. The Senate leadership were given $50,000, while the House of Rep members were given $30,000. But what, according to what People's Gazette published, was that there was going to be a planned protest to halt the passing of the 2026 budget and to disgrace the president. So the president got wind of it and decided to give these guys the money. The money wasn't given to them until after the president's presentation. They had complained, however, that they needed monies for constituency projects, and the monies were not given to them. So when the president wanted to come present the budget, that was an opportunity for them to disclose or display their grievance towards the president by saying their constituencies have been impoverished because they weren't given money, and that was where the money came. So the big question is this. This is People's Gazette. They're an investigative online news media platform. Obviously, they have their sources and they may have verified their information before they decided to publish. Mr. Elvis, what does this mean?
Yes, it's a new test period. The presidency has just been the hand of the legislator as usual. It's just because we heard this. There are so many of these that go behind it, under the table, that we don't hear. It is not too shameful for a country that almost 90% of the people in Nigeria cannot even celebrate the Christmas and New Year now because of the hardship that has been brought in to Nigerians by this government. If this one is not exposed by people like now, we won't hear. You know, there was a time we heard of indecent to your mailbox and all that. But this one now, you know, you see, this is why the matter became so terrible. They wanted to stage a protest to disrupt the presentation of budget because of what? Constituency allowances. That constituency allowances, we only hear of it. How many of them go to their respective constituency to carry out any project? That one is also for them to keep in their pocket. Then again, now because that was not given to them as expected, then another one has come in another form now, just to allay that protest. Then meanwhile, the constituency money is still going to be released to them later. You can imagine the millions of naira that, you know, just less than 360 members of the House of Reps and 109 members of the Senate. You just take that one out of what Nigerians are crying. That can give us good roads. It can give us good hospitals. It can even help to buy good arms and ammunition to fight the insurgency that is, you know, bearing us on our faces, that even some Nigerians that have the means to travel cannot even travel because the roads are not safe. That's to tell you where we are. And at the end of the day, they will tell us they are fighting corruption. Whom are they fighting? Is this one actually fighting corruption now or encouraging corruption? So that's why when EFCC parade or, you know, we are proving this, we are doing this, Nigerians are no longer having that confidence, because the same people who are saying, oh, we are trying this one, we are trying this one, are the same people that still, you know, encourage the corruption. We saw how the jamboree that followed the Yaya Bello's arrest. Today, Yaya Bello is working free. So many others. So the matter has become so monumental that we don't even know where to start from. No government comes in and do the bidding of the people. They only come in and do their own bidding. And that's where we have just find ourselves. But God will sustain us. We are entering the new year. Nothing is going to change. We are going to smile back home.
Mr. Elvis Alimehela, you said God will sustain us. The House of Rep members are meant to represent their constituencies' interest. If they know that the budget is unachievable, if they knew that there were issues that they ought to raise at the National Assembly, especially that the president was there, they refused to do that for personal gains, then who are the persons representing us at the red chamber and at the green chamber? If their silence could easily be bought with $50,000 and $30,000 respectively, so are we saying all of them are there just for their personal gains? In other words, if the president wants anything to pass, if the president needs the cooperation of the House of Rep members, all he needs to do is to give them money. We are saying that there was a deficit in the 2025 budget in terms of return. our return for 2025 was just 10 trillion naira, all right, and the expenditure was more. Where did this money come from? Do you know what it is to give each senator $50,000 and $30,000, more than 360 of them receiving that amount of money? This is the money that the government is telling us that they do not have. And remember that they want to finance the 2026 budget, and so they are coming on with the tax reform full on from January. Mr. Elvis, what other way do we explain this man-made error than saying God would help us?
The only way to explain it, Esther, is that since the news is out now, Nigerians should, I keep saying that Nigerians must take the bull by the horn. These people will continue to do this. How many of them? And look at 200 and something million. By the time we have just finished analyzing it now, we heard in the news, we only grumble in their home, in our respective home, and swallow the bitter pill because they know who we are. This cannot happen in a nation where we believe that we own this democracy. It's just that these people have a way of dividing us, and they come back and start telling us lies. Let me tell you, Esther, a situation where you remove this type of money and share for few individuals because you want them to become moles, because you want them to do your bidding at all times, then where is the money for you and I? It is not mentioned here now. And the budget you just made mention of that the president is going to present. Part of that budget money is being borrowed to finance that budget. This one that is being shared now, why don't you even channel it to the use of people? So the people must have to stand up and defend their democracy. These people will continue to do this to us and slap our faces with it because they know when they do it, they always get away with it. Why can't Nigerians begin to think of 2026? We'll begin to think of how to occupy National Assembly. If we do this consistently, yes, we will say the man that is talking legal. It is not me, but we are making the awareness here. We are creating the advocacy. It's not everybody that will be there, but people must have to stand up and say enough is enough. If we don't stand up for this, we are seeing it in the military, we are not seeing it now in democracy again, and it's going to be worse, and it will continue in this manner. So, by the time we finish analyzing and finish talking, we go back to our home. Those of us that were able to buy small rice and small chicken will eat it and say, forget about them. Nobody can stop corruption in Nigeria. Somebody can stop corruption in Nigeria if we actually know our right and trend on our right constitutionally. That's what I'm talking, Esther.
All right, Mr. Elvis, the federal government has announced plans to tap into Nigeria's largely informal vehicle recycling market. All right, they're projecting annual revenues of over 150 billion naira from 2026 as part of sweeping reforms to modernize the country's automotive industry. So the thing is, the federal government is introducing mandatory vehicle recycling fee from 2026, and according to what the federal government is saying, that part of the plan with the policy would be to formalize the recycling of vehicles that have reached the end of their useful lives, turning what is currently an environmental and safety burden into a major economic opportunity. That the program will follow a similar model which requires a modest fee at the point of vehicle registration to fund environmentally sound disposal and recycling, a move he acknowledged may initially face public resistance. So apparently they know this will face public resistance. So if you're going to register, maybe do a new registration for your vehicle, you pay a fee, according to what they described it, a modest fee at the point of the vehicle registration. And the idea, what the fee is for vehicle recycling. That's what the federal government is telling us, and that is from the Director General NADDC Joseph Osanipin. So again, this is another tax avenue. What do we do? Well, for some persons don't have vehicles, but those that have vehicles, you will go to register your vehicle. You will also pay tax of roadworthiness fee along with vehicle recycling fee. Or please, I do not have a vehicle. So Mr. Elvis, can you explain to me what this means?
It is we are entering 2026, the year of tax expansion and enlargement. So this is why this one is coming in. You know, the next year the tinted glasses is coming up too. Payment for tinted glasses is newer. So this, I don't understand. If my vehicle is no longer usable, is it the government that I should pay to for recycling, or I will be the one that will sell off my vehicle at the time I know it has become a burden to me? It's just that the government is just looking for every avenue to pauperize Nigeria and Nigerians and begin to use the money to first settle their ego. I don't know what this means, but I know too well. I just heard this story this evening, and I just know too well that Nigerians are going to react to this when the time comes. I just renewed my car paper. Probably maybe when I've renewed it in 2026, they will ask me to pay that kind of a fee because it has been included. It's just like some of these insurance fees we pay in Nigeria. How many people actually insure their car and insurance get the value for the insurance they insure the car for? You just go there and pick it, and we pay money, and at the end of the day, even when you have problem with your car on the road, insurance never comes to your aid. So another added tax to bring down the little financial situation of Nigeria, especially those of Nigerians that are driving cars, is what has just been introduced. You look at the time it's being introduced, nobody is even talking about, okay, let us support trade to the people, let's see how the people will affect it, and what I tell them the benefits and the gains of bringing it in. We don't always see that. We don't see the government coming to announce it and just ask us to swallow the bitter pill. When you are bringing in a new policy, you bring it to debate. It will be debated. People will know the pros and cons, know the advantages of why they must be part of that policy. But here, it's only an announcement. And before you know now, you empower the police to start saying if that paper is not included in your vehicle papers, then the police will now begin to use that one again as an avenue to start siphoning and accepting money for Nigerians. Look at where we are dragging. The same Nigerians that cannot feed, the same Nigerians that cannot pay transport to office, the same Nigerians that cannot even pay their school fees and have a good health care, and the same Nigerians that are being overloaded for this kind of burden with tax that are going to come up. 2026, God will see Nigerians through, Esther. There are so many things that we have not seen ahead that are going to come up.
You keep saying God will see Nigerians through. God will see Nigerians through. All right, God will indeed see Nigerians through.
Yeah, because we are very good at praying. That's very way we used to consider ourselves. Tomorrow everybody will be in church again and begin to pray for 2026. When we already know what we are going to face in 2026, part of it is what we are saying. So they are pushed out to the extent that everybody in Nigeria now believe only in prayers, and we believe only that only when you go to talk to God that God will see. God is just if you know. But most of these things we pray for in Nigeria, I pray for in other parts of the world, because these are things that are always be answered by God. But unfortunately, people have denied us of it, so they are turned us to prayer warriors in our respective homes.
All right, the NSA has handed over the remaining 130 Samaris Catholic school pupils, all right? And a couple of Nigerians say, okay, that's a good development. Nothing happened to those children. But there are talks that they couldn't arrest those individuals. Like, in what way were they able to secure the release? Did they give them more money, to secure the release of those children, all right? Or after they secured the release of the children, why did they not round them up? What kind of agreement did they come to with those individuals, considering the fact that the president has actually termed kidnappers and bandits as terrorists, although they refuse to acknowledge or allow a bill whereby these individuals will be given the death sentence? That is, any form of terrorism will be given the death sentence to these individuals. So what does this actually portend? Do we consider this a step in the right direction, or how long would we continue to negotiate with these terrorists and not apprehend any one of them?
Esther, this has been the shady deal around this terrorism and insurgency in Nigeria that have made it to fester to this extent we are today. This shady deal that the government will not tell Nigerians the truth, and every day we keep hearing that people are kidnapped. The next language you hear is that they have been released. We don't know what that language means, whether they are arrested, they are released, or whatever that transpired before they are arrested or they are released. We don't know. This is the shadiness that has been in this state, in this insurgency over the years, that make it to get to this level we are now. Now in Nigeria, we like to emulate good things when we see it at the surface, but we don't know that every good thing has where the foundation was laid before it became good. If you get a furniture workshop, Esther, you see the display chairs outside. That's not where those chairs are made. If you go behind, you see the workshop where people are working, making sure that those chairs that they bring out fit the eyes of the people. That's what you see. In China, we always say, look at China. Will China go and make law and say banditry and insurgents will not be kidnapped? Will not be executed if they are caught and found guilty? China will never make such law. But when they come and see development in China, if you get to China, everything is working. The laws behind that is making those things work. Why are we not practicing those laws in Nigeria? That is the big point. These guys are released now. These children are released now that we're kidnapped. They are released. But nobody is telling us how they were released. or what led to it. How much went to the hand of the kidnappers before these children were saying it. The government officials will come and tell lies that they never paid the couple. But we know too well that the people that came to start to come and kidnap these children are not for that Christmas. They kept children now for about a month. They were fed, they were clothed, they were housed. So all this money that they use is spending for these children over this 1 month, they just free because they just want to take these children on an excursion into the bush. Abi, they went on an excursion into the bush. So they fed them freely, kept them freely, and clothed them freely. That's where the biggest problem is this insurgency comes in, and that's why the insurgency has become business. That's why the business of the insurgency will not end in it, because the government will never tell Nigerians the truth, and when Nigerians speak to hear the truth, they turn us to cyberbullying and winners and all that. They give us names. That's the truth. That's why we will never. It will be difficult for us to get out of this problem we are, Esther.
All right, Mr. Elvis, let's move on to the political scene. I'm sure you know that the PDP National Secretariat was sealed in November following clashes between two rival factions of the party. One was led by Turkey and the other aligned with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. The confrontation arose after both factions planned to hold meetings at the party headquarters on the same day. I'm sure you must have seen videos and pictures of punches being thrown at people, certain persons carried over the shoulder like sacks of rice, and stones and pellets being thrown at the secretariat, and there was a lot of unzabu going on there. Well, as it stands right now, the Kabiru Turku faction of the People's Democratic Party has approached the Federal High Court in Abuja. They are seeking an order directing the IGP and the Nigerian Police Force to immediately unseal and vacate the party's National Secretariat and other offices across the country. Now, Mr. Elvis Alim Heleme, you know there is a problem, right? INEC called the factions, the warring factions in PDP, to see how they could come to a resolution and understanding. One of the prerogatives or priorities or responsibilities of INEC is to delve into inter-party crisis and see how they can resolve it, so there will be a smooth flow of decisions. It was unfortunate that the Mahmoud Yakub leadership did not do any of that when parties were having issues, but they did not resolve. They couldn't come to a conclusion. There was no impasse after that meeting. So what do you think is going to happen? Will the IGP unseal the premises, or they're waiting for a court order that determines which of the faction is the recognized PDP? What say you about this?
IGP will not unseal the Secretariat, Esther, because the command is not from the IGP. The command is from those people that will never want an opposition to work. So IGP is just a messenger in this matter. The person who sent the messenger somewhere, and they are watching their messenger, execute the message. That's number one. Number two, the person that stole your property is helping you to find it, you will never get it. That's the second one. Even the so-called peace parley that was called by the umpire, by INEC as the umpire, I didn't really see it as a genuine thing. I think that they just want to make it and say, oh, we tried our best, but the two factions were just arrogant, because one of the factions, as Nigerians are aware, is being fueled by government. So if the government is fueling a faction of it, how will the same government say their own umpires won't mediate in it? It is just like dressmaking situation, Esther. So I didn't see anything. I just saw it that day like this one is just, to confuse Nigerians and confuse themselves. But the major thing is that the political party must know that they have a bigger elephant in the house. The ruling party do not want them to work. So they themselves will be able to manage all their crisis internally. A situation where the party keeps, making laws and, jettisoning the law, what led to all this crisis? Like, what led to all this crisis that made Greenland to become a bull in a China shop in PDP is that the PDP jettisoned their agreed policies. We want the candidate should come from the south. When the candidate is supposed to come from the south, then the war got cracked, and the weekend also and how many knows, and that's okay. And let me continue in this manner. That's why the party themselves are not sincere to the leadership of the party, and as a result, this kind of problem will continue to come. Even when the court makes an order in Nigeria, any of them are respected. This. How many of them, even Supreme Court judgment now, are not being jettisoned? No, nobody is looking into it. Those are the things that kill democracy, because the court plays a very big role in democracy. But today, judiciary is as good as judiciary in Nigeria is as good as non-entity. By the time they make a pronouncement, they give judgment, nobody respects it. So just don't look at the election that is going to come out of the court ruling on that injunction. It's just going to be null and void because the people who design this crisis are the people that own the cause. And as a result, nothing is going to come out of it. It's so unfortunate that PDP played into the hands of this situation, and this situation is almost engulfing PDP. The same person who now came out of PDP and said, no, I'm fighting on my own right because the president was supposed to resume to the South. Eventually, did not fix it. Atiku Abubakar calls that quite well because he has the money, no problem. But the same weekend was calling Atiku Abubakar when he lost that primary for him to be picked as running mate. He was calling. Do you know he thought Nigeria weekend was calling what Aruka said because he wanted to be. So that same person, are you not saying that same person is more of I need this for myself than Nigeria? So when he's not talking now, briefing press now because he has all the money to invite all the media and be talking. This same, I don't know why our colleague journalists don't asking this question. But even after you say that primaries, and you so agree that the primaries, the primaries went to the north. Why were you calling Atiku Abubakar to make you running late? Is it because Atiku Abubakar had dropped for Kowa that you now went into the trenches and now brought the G5 to make Atiku Abubakar didn't win? If Atiku Abubakar has still Wike as running late, do you think Wike would have destabilized PDP to this extent to where today? I think that's the big question we should be asking. So my people always make valid to say that when you know how your reaction is, your butcher is, you know how to play that in the crowd because if your God tears unnecessarily, you know the disgrace you are going to go home with. So PDP knowing where they were coming from, when they played into the hands of Wike, and Wike now capitalized on it. The same Wike now that is now proving that it's a sign was wanting to become running mate to Atiku Abubakar. But today he's not saying about that area, but he's only saying that the PDP did not agree on the agreement that the only has to go to the South. It's an issue, so nothing is going to come out of it. That's secretariat to the next stage because the only party don't want to see opposition that will come again, that will come after them in the next 2027 general election.
All right, so let's look at this development. It's concerning the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun. There are indications that the president is directing the transfer of key roles in revenue generation, debt management, and customs oversight from Wale Edun to Minister of State Doris Uzoka Anite. The president approved updated responsibilities that transfers major oversight functions from the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, to the Minister of State for Finance. And these are the roles that Doris will be handling from now until God knows when. Revenue generation, revenue distribution, all domestic debt management. Additional key mandates shifted to her office includes home finance, technical services, cash management, revenue sharing amongst tiers of government and federation account, including Nigerian Customs Service and Development Finance. Now, there are fears based on what transpired, why there all of a sudden redesignation of key roles to the Minister of State for Finance. There are fears that maybe Mr. Wale Edun is not feeling so much okay, or his poor performance with having to not properly defend how the budget was utilized, and the fact that they underperformed in revenue generation and no accountability for expenditure. There are also talks that possibly the responsibilities are overwhelming for him, and these are the technocrats that the president displayed at the Chatham House in 2023 that he believed could handle the economy. I'm speaking of Wale Edun, Olayemi Cardoso, the CBN governor. So what do you think this entails? Could it just be that they're trying to devolve the office, not have one person have all that responsibility, so maybe there'll be transparency and fairness? What's your take on that?
Well, it is a kettle of fish altogether, Esther. In the first instance, in the ministry, whether the minister for state or minister or the chief minister, I think there is really no superiority among them. You know, it's not like a vice president and a president. And as a result, roles can be assigned. But you saw some time ago, we also heard that the minister himself was
Mr. Elvis, do you know what it means to redesignate, for example, you're a boss or you're a leader in an organization, and the company decides to redesignate your responsibility to your subordinate?
Esther, I'm still coming there, you know. So I just want to clear that off. You know, we heard that some time ago he was not feeling too fine.
Yeah.
Maybe out of sympathy and pity, the president will say, no, I love this my friend so much, and I don't want the work of the office to break him down. So he might come again in that form. But we also know too well that it is the one that the president believes that is not loyalty is at play, that the president will say, okay, you are my friend, but it's like some of my my order now to your ministry are not going the way I want it. So he might just come up with something that we use to whittle his that relationship down and say, okay, if I give order and this one can I dispatch it as expected, then why don't I just say, okay, take over this role while I don't participate. I just come up with this, my friend. Okay, this one has been much for you, and I don't want you to break down and all that. We saw what happened to Kunjo Wela in 2023 when Obasanjo preparation for 2023 election, 2003 election when Obasanjo removed her as the Minister for Finance and pushed her to Ministry for Foreign Affairs because they know she was not going to do the bidding of opening the treasury for them to do campaign. So we have always been seeing this. So some other alignment like this are going to come up, redeployment and even like reducing your power in the office will come up as we are heading towards 2027 general election. Because politicians are just like vultures. It's the one that the feel is much more loyal, in whatever form that they will say, okay, this one is our person. So then PDP got Nenad Usman to come and be the minister and remove Okonjo Wela. So we solve all those things. As it is, if I'm made irrelevant in my office, I know what to do. If I'm made, my position is being stripped off and made irrelevant, why will I remain in that office? I have to think of how to resign. But unfortunately, they will tear it up because they know where they meet. The present minister, who has been his person right from Lagos, was commissioner for finance when he was Lagos. He was in Lagos as governor. So if there is any expression coming up now, Nigerians will not celebrate it because they know where they meet and they know what they are doing, and they are just doing all this, just to blindfold Nigerians and say, oh, it's like it's no longer in good terms with him. They know what they are planning, Esther. Somebody that must act, not like, oh, because he's too close to the president, that's why he's doing all this. So bring that person in and put that person. This is why we are bringing you in, and then we want you to come and execute. So let's watch that. So we'll see hear more of it, Esther.
All right, Mr. Elvis Alimehele, thank you so much for giving us your time and giving us more insights into some of the stories run out on the world news at 6. We sincerely do appreciate your input.
Thank you, Esther. Have a blessed evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Meanwhile, just before we go into stories outside the shores of Nigeria, Donald Trump has sparked a fresh row with Denmark after appointing a special envoy to Greenland, the vast Arctic island he said he would like to annex. Trump announced on Sunday that Jeff Landry, the Republican governor of Louisiana, would become the U.S. special envoy to Greenland, a semi-autonomous part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Governor Landry said in a post on X that it was actually an honor to be part of that exercise, saying that it would volunteer a position to make Greenland a part of the United States. The move has angered Copenhagen, which said it will call the U.S. ambassador for an explanation. Greenland's prime minister said the island must decide their own future and its territorial integrity must be respected. Now, a Russian general has been killed in a car bombing in Moscow. Russia's investigative committee said Lieutenant General Fanil Saravov died this morning after an explosive device planted under a car detonated. He is the third military official to have been killed in bomb attacks in the Russian capital over the last year. Saravov, 56 years of age, was the head of the Armed Forces Operational Training Department. It added that one theory was being investigated where the bomb was planted with the involvement of Ukrainian intelligence services. Meanwhile, Ukraine has neither confirmed nor denied. Savarov died in a hospital as a result of his injuries. Investigators have been sent to the scene in a car park near an apartment block in the south of Moscow. Images from the area show a badly damaged white Kia Sorento with the doors blown out, surrounded by other vehicles. According to Russian media, Savarov previously took part in combat operations during the Ossetian-Ingush conflict and the Chechen wars in the 1990s and early 2000s, and also led operations in Syria between 2015 and 2016. That's a wrap on the world news at 6. My name is Esther Wachuku. Up next is the Evening Rush, which will commence precisely at 7 o'clock. Just stay tuned.